Thank you so much. Really appreciate the technological support today, and we are just delighted to be able to share our specific perspectives with you today about creating instructor presence through video feedback applications. So my name is Dr. Victoria Scharp. I typically go by Tori. And my background is an assistant professor at Idaho State University. I was very privileged to be awarded one of the 2020 Idaho State University Master Teacher Awards, and I also recently received the Innovative Teacher Award for our specific college. My background is that I am a certified and licensed speech language pathologist, and I also hold the Quality Matters Teaching Online certificate. So I provide that academic faculty perspective to the talk this morning. Mark?
Thanks, Tori. And I'm Mark Cooper. I'm an instructional designer at Idaho State University. I've been an instructional designer for about 14 years, 4 at Idaho State. And we are a Quality Matters family. Quality Matters, I have the Teaching Online certificate. I'm a course review manager and also a peer reviewer. The outcomes for today are we're going to summarize evidence-based feedback. We are going to identify the advantages of how providing this video feedback creates instructor presence. And we're going to describe the learning activities that are ideal for implementing the video feedback.
And so we would love to invite you to join us for a quick learning activity. If you would please click on this link, it will take you to a Jamboard, and I will also provide that link for you. Here you go, perfect. Thank you so much, Wei, in the chat. So please join us over in the Jamboard, where we will invite you to share with us a couple of thoughts that popcorn off the top of your head. Okay. Access denied. Let's fix that.
I have the same message.
Thank you. Let's let me reboot. Try one more time. Thank you. Sorry about that. All right. Looks like people are able to join us now. Thank you for your patience. So I will stay on this screen for just a moment and invite you to please let us know a couple of common challenges that you face with grading. What are some challenges that you face with grading? Or if you happen to be on that instructional designer side or a course facilitator, what are some of those challenges that faculty bring to you and say, oh my goodness, if I could just do X with my grading, this would really solve a complex problem. So you should be able to pop in and provide a post-it, a little sticky note, if you go to that bar on the left side of the Jamboard. The fourth icon down is a sticky note, and you should be able to jump in and share some common challenges that you have with grading. It is telling us view only. How is that? I apologize, one moment. The third time is the charm. Let's try one more time and see if you're able to jump in and provide, utilizing that fourth icon down, a couple of sticky notes and talk to us about common grading challenges. And I can't wait to see what some of your ideas are. Perfect. Now we're in. Third time's the charm.
That's a good one, getting students to actually review your feedback. I love that one. Takes a long time, too much time. Yep, having time to provide the comments, that's a big one.
Oh,
comments get buried in the LMS, and I kind of attest to that. You have to scroll down to find the comments. Feeling the need to comment on everything. Balance between providing too much and too little. These are really good, very good. Thank you so much for contributing.
and I appreciate this notion of this power imbalance, or this kind of authority figure piece of that, just the faculty members' wisdom is the only arbiter of all things. So just that singular perspective suddenly seems to have this increased level of importance. Oh boy, students don't use the feedback. And the other side of that is students don't appreciate the feedback, right? And like the feedback. And so they wrestle with what it looks like with feedback. Perfect.
Either don't see it, don't like it, don't use it.
There are
like
also, so go ahead, please, Mark.
I was just going to say, I like the building in opportunities to use feedback and improve performance, or getting students to do something with it. That's a really good one. Thank you so much.
And again, from that faculty perspective, I'm seeing this broad-based category of efficiency. So it takes too much time, feeling the need to comment on everything, having the time period built into our schedules to be able to provide that feedback. Absolutely. And this balance between providing too much versus too little. So there's certainly this efficiency umbrella category, as well as just, are the students getting what we want them to get out of the feedback?
I didn't see, and maybe I missed it, but also too many students. So if I'm teaching a 101 English composition course, I have 80 students in my class. There's no way I could provide all this feedback.
Thank you. That is exceptional. If you would please hang with us, I'm going to advance the Jamboard, and you can advance yourself to the third page. What are some of the goals of feedback? So now that we've talked about some of the common grading challenges, and a lot of them are rooted and nested in feedback, if you would advance, you can advance forward utilizing the top arrow there.
The third slide.
Thank you very much. The third slide is talking about what are some of the goals that we have for feedback. If you would please include some of those goals, we would appreciate it. What are we trying to get out of providing feedback for our learners?
Improve understanding and performance. I see a lot of learning and performance improvement. Very good. Provide further instruction. Thank you.
Yeah, being able to stretch that learning opportunity beyond the structure of the classroom, or beyond the specific learning outcomes linked to that activity. So how can we extend that application of knowledge and skills? Absolutely.
I like the apply other things that students are learning. So it's a great way to bridge the information that you're learning now to maybe something that you learned before, or something that you're going to learn next week, or whatever, to kind of make that connection. That's really good. Helping students identify their strengths. I like the online courses to create a more personal connection. Absolutely. And especially with an online course, that's so important.
So I appreciate, from the faculty perspective, the balance that I'm seeing here in terms of being able to highlight strengths and areas for growth, and also how feedback can be a primary motivator, or the opposite side of that, which is what we're not going for when we are engaging with our students. Absolutely. Any others jump out to you here, Mark?
Let's see, reinforce application concepts. I like that. That's really, really good and really important for feedback. I would say from an instructional designer standpoint, where we have, you know, faculty who are challenged, how do I engage my students more? I think providing opportunities for you to give students feedback on their performance and or to just, you know, to engage with them, to connect things that they've learned are ways to increase your presence. And I think we'll talk a little bit about that later too.
And I appreciate to reinforce concepts, to confirm accomplishment, allow time to reteach, to bridge maybe those gaps in knowledge or skills, or provide those opportunities to stretch beyond those knowledge or skills. Thank you. This is excellent.
Thanks, everyone.
Yes, I appreciate your participation. So we're able to really see from these responses the value of feedback, the importance of feedback, but there are some drawbacks in terms of implementation and in terms of how that feedback is implemented and utilized. And so one of our goals today is to provide you with just some basic information about how providing a specific tool of video feedback that can be sprinkled throughout your course could be one way to circumvent some of the challenges that were connected to this morning, and to help really reinforce and get the most out of providing feedback in terms of efficiency on the faculty side and engagement from the student side.
All right. As I mentioned before, we're at Quality Matters family, and we at ISU Quality Matters and is very big. So when I was thinking about video feedback and where that applied, you know, it directly applies to the standard 5.2, which is learning activities provide opportunities for interaction, supporting active learning. And there are different types of active learning, such as the learner-learner interaction, learner content interaction. But what this video feedback really hones in on is learner to instructor feedback, where direct video feedback, and I mean, you know, from instructor to one student, to each student, and hits on this particularly in an online course. So the learner to instructor content is, I'm sorry, the learner to the instructor interaction is key in this video feedback. And I'll highlight a couple other standards that this applies to as well, if you're also a supporter of Quality Matters. Okay. Video feedback is critical in, definitely helps with creating instructor presence. And as we know, in an online course, it can be very easy for students to feel isolated, and instructor presence is key. So video feedback definitely hits on instructor presence. And in the classroom, you're always going to have a transactional distance between the instructor and students. So with a face-to-face class, this transactional distance is greatly reduced compared to an online class. But online learners are already at a disadvantage because they have that transactional distance. And so having more of an instructor presence in your online course will help shrink that gap. And so the more instructor presence that you can have, the more your learners are going to persist in the course. And we don't want them to fall off. So providing that customized video feedback is an excellent way to engage those learners in the course and keep them in the course and keep them interested.
So from the faculty perspective, some common feedback methods that we prototypically engage in with our students and our learners include the range that you see here on the slide, everything from written feedback to engagement that we are able to have with our students on a more one-on-one or small group basis for office hours, more large group debriefings, perhaps after an exam, for example, or a high stakes learning activity. Other ways we can provide feedback more globally include utilizing the announcements feature in your LMS, utilizing a common-based grading rubric, or just other verbal prompts that we are able to provide our students. And something I would like to really reinforce about your hopeful future consideration of video feedback implementation is it doesn't have to be specific to the online learning environment. So these are specific strategies that I implement regardless of the type of learning environment that I am in. So I will also include videos for my in-seat students, for my distance learning students, and for my students in the online learning environment. And so in providing that learner and student engagement through feedback is just commonplace in the learning environment. So we are looking forward to talking a little bit more about this specific strategy for you today. So at the end of the day, we are scientists, many of us, and so we want to be able to look at what the evidence shares in terms of the scholarship of teaching and learning and how video feedback specifically can elevate a course. And so if we think about our students as these learner consumers, right, they're our audience, they're expecting to enter this learning experience and expecting to receive regular individualized feedback from a qualified expert. So these are our consumers, these are our individuals that have paid to be and to tap our expertise and to have that learning community about a given topic. And so there is this automatic expectation for our learners to have some type of individualized engagement. So that puts that burden a bit on the faculty member to make sure that we are executing that in an efficient manner. So a couple of different ways we can think about feedback. Often this written or text feedback that is provided, it can be thought of as pretty efficient. It's also expected. It's easy to be very professional with providing that written feedback. And it is frankly a very common modality that our students are used to receiving feedback within. Where we would like to have some value added is thinking about video feedback and providing an additional supportive level of engagement for your students or your learners, where that can be maybe a bit more conversational in nature. A couple of other pieces connected to evidence include that how that feedback is communicated to the student can keep the student active and involved and motivated, or can turn the student off, reduce engagement, and even promote attrition from course attendance and course commitment. And so we really want to make sure that we are maximizing our feedback modalities in order to retain our students, but also help them get the most out of the course content and our content delivery mechanisms. So very specifically then, screencasting feedback, which is one of the primary modalities we're talking about here today, can help students to understand that content better and perhaps improve their grades, perhaps improve their understanding of the overall content, and hopefully, of course, keep them enrolled and engaged in the course. So what does video feedback really offer? Why is video feedback value added? So we can really think of our formative assessment practices as this ongoing, pretty flexible, dynamic, more informal diagnostic tool that can be added then to that summative assessment that we are very accustomed to. And the evidence in the literature really supports these additional strengths connected to video feedback. So video feedback can provide this opportunity for highly personalized, unambiguous, multimodal, conversational, constructive feedback. And applying then that screencasting means you can help the student hone in exactly on what you are talking about in the work that they have indeed submitted. One of the primary strengths of providing video feedback is that students don't just read it and perhaps put it in the drawer, or take a look at it on the learning management system and then never find it again. And so by providing video feedback, the literature does show that students are more likely to go back and review that feedback on more than one occasion. This can also increase rapport and that instructor presence that is so critical, particularly in those online learning environments. Video feedback can help bridge the gap in some of those applications that we talked about early on in terms of what are our goals for feedback to begin with for our students. And it also helps that faculty member be more assessment focused and more content delivery, bridge the gap, highlight those strengths, coach those limitations and area for development versus very strictly grade focused.
As we know, there are some limitations with this, and this may not be for everyone, and it may not be for everything. So there are some limitations with video feedback that I want to talk about. And beginning with anxiety. Anxiety in creating videos. I know a lot of instructors who just shy away from creating videos because they don't like to see themselves in a video. Or you might not like, as a student, you might not like to watch videos in too much detail. It adds a technology layer that you might not be ready for, because creating a video is more than just hitting the record button and talking. In order to create a quality video, you really need to pay attention to the video, the lighting, the sound. So you have to have the equipment to be able to do this, and that could be an investment for an instructor. There's also issues with uploading and downloading. And nowadays, as we're all working from home with our Wi-Fi, do I have enough capacity to be able to upload this? Am I going to be sitting here watching this video upload for 3 hours? Is a big limitation as well. It's unidirectional. That's a hard word to say. It gives the illusion of dialogue. So that could be a limitation for the students who want that, that one-on-one exchange with their instructor. The instructor or the student might prefer written feedback, because written feedback it's easier, it's quicker. I could just, I could just get it down on paper, send or on a document and send it to my students, and maybe that's how they prefer it. So there is a preference and a comfort level with it. It takes practice. I know when I record a video, I'm redoing it 3, 4, sometimes 5 or 6 times before I can get it right. So it takes practice, and people might not have the patience to do that. And then the last one is a very important one, is if you're not careful with your emotions or your nonverbals, that'll definitely come off in your video feedback. So if you have a tendency to have negative reactions, or not have a good poker face, that could be a problem with your video feedback, and it might actually come back to bite you in the end. So, but it's important to just think that this is just another tool in the toolbox. So wondering if this is the right thing for your course assignment. I'm an instructor. I think this is going to be really cool. But is this right for my assignment? As your instructional designer, I would ask you some questions, and I would first want to know, what is your overall objective or goal for this assignment? And what knowledge do you want your students to learn? And what skills do you want them to be able to develop for this assignment? And then finally, I would say, how can you best support your students' learning and growth in an online environment? So those are some of the questions that I would want my instructor to be able to answer before adding this into their course. And I said we talked a little bit about some Quality Matters standards earlier with standard 5.2, but I think this also applies to a couple others, and I've listed them here with standard 3.5, giving students the ability to track their learning with timely feedback. And standard 5.2 with the instructor having an actual plan for providing that kind of feedback to students and communicating that to students, maybe in their course, in their syllabus. That is also critical. And then 6.2 is that tool and the tool that provides learner engagement and active learning, kind of coincides with the learning activity, providing the right tool for the job.
So there are a couple of tools that I tend to like to use, and if everyone would like to pop into the chat, let's see if we can do some crowdsourcing of other recording tools that you have been successful with in either your teaching or in supporting faculty development and engagement through content delivery. So what tools for recording or screencasting videos do you like to use? Please feel free to just pop them right there into the chat. Thank you. And perhaps you were turned on to some additional tools given our COVID pandemic.
I love this because this gives me some ideas on different types of technology that I can talk to my instructors about, or that I can research on my own and get to play with. We have Screencast-O-Matic is great. Canvas, Soapbox.
Yes, your universities might have specific tools that they already partner with or that work really well in a given learning management system. And so we would strongly encourage you to work with your, at ISU, we're very fortunate to have the Instructional Technology Resource Center or whatever sort of scholarship and teaching development opportunities that your university might offer you, because there's often this nice confluence of free tools as well as paid or subscription-based tools.
And definitely it's important to know the functions of each of the technologies before getting in and before investing in it, because some of them aren't free, and getting to learn it. So you want to make sure that, okay, like the Screencast-O-Matic has a time limit on how long you can record. So that's important. So if you're just recording short little feedback videos or bridge videos or something like that, this would be the tool for you. But if your video goes over that limit, or maybe you're doing a much larger type of feedback to a group, an online group of students on a project, then you might consider something like Camtasia or something like that would give you that extra time. But I do like how the ones that the Screencast-O-Matic directly upload to Google Drive, and that's a time saver as well as convenience.
And troubleshooting and thinking about these, oh, of course, YouTube, and thinking about these dynamics of what is the goal that you were trying to achieve for that specific learning activity or learning outcome. Your technology resource professionals can really help you as the faculty member to determine does the length of recording time matter? Does the specific, do you need to be a talking head, or is it more important to focus on what the student has provided? Is it just you that is providing a bridge video, perhaps to the entire class? And so, oh yes, Flipgrid for sure. Is the expectation that the students then provide some type of video upload, or is this just a unidirectional component that you're adding to your course? So we really want to, it's really critical to kind of brainstorm those factors so that you're able to really marry your overall outcome and goal with the type of technology that can support it.
I love one of the comments was the video feature within your learning management system. And that can also be a very useful tool. It might also have some limitations as well, as it might not have as much of a robust functions as some of the other ones. Or it might not have that portability to move it from one course to another. But that is definitely a good tool to have and to be able to use within your LMS and not have to worry about uploading or the videos or having the students download them.
So thank you so much for sharing those brainstorms in the chat. So how about I take just a moment to share with you a couple of very specific examples that I have utilized in my course to provide video feedback for my students. And so this first example, so as I mentioned, I happen to be a speech language pathologist, and it is very important and critical to the clinical training and development of our future health professionals that they are able to clearly communicate definitions to multiple audiences. So these key definitions about impairments or disorders to multiple audiences, such as the patient themselves, their family members, other health professionals, etc. So this is a key skill that our students need to develop. And hopefully you can think of an analogous key skill that you would like to foster in your students as we are watching this clip together. So this is a written assignment that my students turned in. They tend to work in pairs or small groups to brainstorm these definitions. And you will see how I have walked them through and provided specific video feedback for them. Dr. Scharp here, providing you with some specific feedback for your aphasia definitions assignment. So here we go. Really strong work here overall. I appreciated how thoughtful you were in thinking through the different components of the definition that were really a priority for each of the different audiences. So I thought that you were able to really capture those pieces well. So let's take a peek at a couple of specific highlights. So for our new PT, unfamiliar with aphasia, I like here that you talked about some specific areas that would be challenging for this person. So you really started with, here's the broad strokes. They're going to have challenges when it comes to receptive language and when it comes to expressive language. And nice job including reading and writing as the analogous components to both of those. And I love that you said, so she's going to have some challenges specifically with these two-step commands and the comprehension of complex sentences. So one piece that I would help to, or that I would share to kind of push your thinking is, based on those deficits, are there a couple of strategies that you could offer that would really enhance the communication between this new PT and our patient? So, based on these challenges with two-step commands and the challenges with complex comprehension, here are a couple of suggestions that I could offer, or a couple of strategies. So keep your sentences short, break things down into, if you have a multi-step command, break it down, provide a visual cue, whatever that visual cue looks like. Perhaps this patient would also benefit from a tactile cue. So just to push your thinking a little bit more, how could we translate this into, okay, based on this deficit, what's a strategy that we could use or put in place to help support the communication between these two individuals? And I think that that comment holds across your definitions as we take a peek here. So then we've got our seasoned OT. Absolutely. I love that you kind of stepped it up a little bit in terms of the level of detail. That was very clear that you had that intention here. I would also make sure, though, that another way to kind of push your thinking is not only to add in perhaps a specific strategy, but maybe an example or two. And to make sure that we're not assuming knowledge is there that's not there. When we talk about perseveration and specific terms or semantic and phonemic paraphasias, it probably wouldn't hurt just to give either a specific example or a quick reminder of what that specific terminology is, so that we're not making any assumptions about what the person knows or doesn't quite know just yet. I love how you captured with the adult daughter here. So thinking about expressing her needs. Oh, what a beautiful way to capture the specific challenge that we think we're going to see here. And that she's also showing challenges in understanding that reading and writing. And here you did a great job of not only providing that professional terminology, but then giving that descriptor. So I might recommend, of course, depending on who else you're talking to fold that in. So perseveration, that involves the repeating of words or phrases. Love it. That was great. And here you did the strategies. So exactly the types of things that we were just talking about. So using that video chat feature, using gestures and verbalizations to communicate, stop and start, do those check-ins to see if that comprehension is happening. And so I love those specific concrete strategies that you were able to fold in as part of that educational counseling, which is just critical for our patients and their families. And I love that you really seem to capture the essence of what it might mean to calibrate our language for a kiddo. And so I thought you did a really nice job here, gave that specific example, like a birthday card, using only a few words at a time, using your hands to show her things, draw her pictures, just absolutely nailed it. So thank you so much for sharing this assignment with me. It is clear you got everything that you could out of it. And I really appreciate your time. Take care, guys. Oops. So you can see there that when I provide video feedback, I have to kind of put my perfectionist self to the side there. And so that can be one challenge with providing video feedback, is kind of letting that go a little bit and just remind yourself that what you are doing is providing 4 minutes of additional teaching that is focused specifically to enhance that student's experience and skill development. And so I often, you'll notice I was very assessment focused in providing overall more qualitative aspects and feedback within that video. And then what I tend to do is pair it with a very specific grading rubric, but then I tend to ignore the grading rubric and just say, okay, go please look at the grading rubric there, but really focus on where we are here. So it also helps me to promote sidestepping, being super grade focused and being more critical thinking and skill building focused.
I just want to add something onto that, Tori, and thank you so much for sharing that the example of what good feedback and good video feedback looks like. But also, as we were playing, I was thinking it's not just about the strengths and improvements that we're communicating to the students, but we're also with video feedback, and this really came through in your video, is you're motivating your students, you're getting them amped up and excited about your course and their profession that they've chosen. And that may not come off as effective with written feedback. So I think that's what really one thing I really noticed about the video.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate you highlighting that piece. I'm going to play one more quick version of video feedback for you. And this is an example from a research methods course that I teach where I'm providing feedback to the entire class. And so another way to provide feedback and have reusable feedback, so if we want to think about our efficiency and protecting a little bit of our time as faculty members, providing bridge videos or whole class feedback is another mechanism where video feedback could be a really strong choice. And so I'm going to play just a few moments of this video connected to, I like to do quick knowledge checks where I have the students post in a forum, and I talk about how that is their communication to me that they're achieving the specific module level objectives in the course. And so what I do then is provide this bridge video knowledge check recap, if you will, for my students. Up here, I'm going to go ahead and take a moment to do a check-in about the knowledge checks for Module 4. So I just finished reading through all of your efforts connected to those knowledge checks, and I wanted to follow up on a couple of things. So look at my notes here. So most of you were absolutely spot on thinking about experimental design and the forethought that needs to go into experimental design. And with experimental design, we're thinking all about error management and control. Error management and control. So it's kind of one of those things that once you launch, you can't go back. So you want to make sure that you have each of those parameters controlled to the best of your ability. And thinking about that on the front end is critical to executing a study that has the potential to contribute to the literature base. So let's see. I like that some of you highlighted that the procedures of the experiment matter too, that it's not just thinking about all of the different potential threats to internal and external validity, but also that the procedures connected to that experimental design are important to think about ahead of time as well. So how was the data collected? How was that data analyzed? How was it interpreted? So that was a really nice addition that a couple of you provided. So we really want to make sure that we are trying to control for any potential extraneous variables, and then make sure that we're trying to account ahead of time for any potential competing interpretations. So those are just a couple of concrete examples that I'm able to share with you in terms of that more individualized feedback that I was able to provide on that assignment, and then more whole class feedback or opportunities to provide that conceptual bridge for our students that can be so critical to enhance their future application of content delivery. So I'm going to invite you one more time to jump into the chat and talk to us a little bit, and think about the learning activities specifically in your course. So you've seen a couple of different applications of video feedback here today. This is your Siskel and Ebert moment of thumbs up, thumbs down. Not all learning activities are a great fit for video feedback. So can you think of a specific learning activity or assignment or some type of anchor in your course where video feedback might be exceptionally helpful, or just absolutely not the right choice of modality?
And for my instructional designer friends, I would say, you know, think about like some instructors that you're working with maybe right now, and where could this possibly fit into their course?
I'll give you just a minute to join in there.
Teaching faculty how to use specific LMS tools. It's a great way to do that. I saw it giving it on quantitative tasks. Absolutely. Wonderful.
Yeah, so Mark, I think the point there is that perhaps video feedback isn't the best fit for more of those quantitative,
Oh, I see. Yeah.
but perhaps more of those qualitative growth areas for sure.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, John. I appreciate that comment. Yeah, so if you have some global feedback that you want to provide, or you know there are pitfalls that our students or our learners are going to fall into, you can certainly do a nice complement of written whole class feedback of, you know, here were the highlights, here was the class average, or here are common pitfalls, etc. And then you can complement it with a video to really exemplify or amplify certain points for sure.
And you had a comment about foundational writing assignments and research papers, and I think that's really, you know, a good thing to point out. You know, especially with students who are just learning how to write in an academic setting and are feeling a little bit insecure, a lot insecure, I should say, and to get a video from their instructor just highlighting their strengths and motivating them, I think it would really go a long way and would have a big impact. Thank you.
And yep, I agree. We can pull this in for more quantitative type assignments as well. And Brianne or Brian, I really appreciate, I think you and I are sisters in arms here. I absolutely provide video feedback on outlines or midway points to help students really get to that final product where I know they are reaching the objectives for that specific learning activity. So yep, midway through, make sure they're on the right track, do some course correction, which I know many of our learners need. Perfect. Ooh, a weekly video wrap up. Yes, to address those common misconceptions, an effective, efficient way for faculty to use their time, and give that quick 5-minute blast for our students to make sure and just give that regroup opportunity. Yes, a wrap up for a forum discussion. Absolutely perfect. Have we surveyed students much about this mode of feedback? Thank you very much for that question. So that is where we are stretching towards next in terms of thinking about applications of this video feedback. I do have a couple specific comments where this has popped up in my course evaluations that I'll share with you, but a systematic evaluation of the value of video feedback or the pitfalls of video feedback will be forthcoming.
So we talked a lot about some of the applications in just that past slide, but just to kind of bring it all together, you know, we showed and talked about different types of ways that you could use this. You could use it directly to a student with a video feedback. You could do a screencast showing specific points of, you know, places that you want to do feedback. We also talked about giving group or global feedback. And these are just some applications. We talked about introduction and bridge videos. Those are great applications for it. Exam debriefings. I love the assignment pitfalls. Here's where some of my students in the past have struggled on this assignment. You know, just to kind of give them that. Ooh, can we please go back to the last screen, Tori?
You bet.
Thank you.
You bet.
There we go. Thank you. Individual group assignments, grading rubrics with example submissions, math problems. So students, you know, to help them understand the concepts of math or calculus, this would be a great application for that. And also peer reviews. So, pardon me for just 1 second. So if my instructors have concerns about how can I connect better in an online environment with my students, I think this would be one way that I would recommend, and to provide those different examples so that students can, so that instructors can understand, you know, how that would fit in my course. But I would advise to choose wisely because video feedback is not for every situation. And so here are some places where it may not be appropriate. If you have a high student volume, again, that introductory composition class where you have 80 students, this might not be the right tool, although you might be able to use the group or the global examples that we have in here. If you're just not invested in the tool, if you hear like, okay, my colleague in the office next door used this in his class and was very successful, I'm going to use it in mine. And so that just might not be a good reason, because you're not invested in it. So you don't want to use technology for technology's sake. So often perceived as those who are using use a negative tone, and we talked about that earlier, or that are intimidated with technology and or have distracting nonverbals. Again, that poker face. So a different tool might be suitable. And so again, I want to advise you to go back and think about those questions that I posed a little bit earlier, or that I would pose to my instructor. What are the goals of your activity? What knowledge or skill do you want them to develop? How does this connect to their growth and development in their chosen discipline? And I know that Tori's motivation for this is to produce the next generation of quality speech pathologists. And so there's a global motivation behind it as well. So choose wisely.
And so the reviews are in. As I said, this is an emerging area in the literature and something that we intend to take a look at a little bit more systematically. But here are some direct comments from my course evaluations that did not in any way elicit specific comments about video feedback, but that bubbled up in the natural responses. So personalized feedback on assignments and a willingness from the instructor to help with questions. And Dr. Scharp went above and beyond to provide personal video feedback on papers that we were writing. I appreciated being made to feel like an important student in her class, even though it was an online section. And that was a pretty powerful comment to me in terms of instructor presence and engagement in the online learning environment. So feel free. I think we might have 1 minute. We can certainly hang here for just a couple of moments if someone would like to put a comment or question in the chat. And it also looks like the session survey feedback is open. So we would be remiss to not encourage feedback about our video feedback conversation. So we really appreciate your time and attention today.